Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Squires Station. I'm Davey Squires. I'm your host. I'm this host of the podcast here, and this great. And it's actually really the morning I'm recording this. It's actually a really nice morning out. So But what are we doing on this episode? Well, we're going to be doing another tier list. A lot of people ask me, what is your favorite Rush album? Because I am a big fan of the band Rush, and I always wanted to answer that question, but I never could because it always changes. And so I'm going to be doing something that probably will change in the next week, but it is some type of organizational way that I can actually theoretically list my favorite Rush albums, right now at least. This changes from day to day, I feel like, depending on what kind of mood I'm feeling. Sometimes I like newer Rush, sometimes I like synthy Rush, sometimes I like the classic shit. So, it all depends on what type of mood I'm in. But for the most part, some of these albums stay the same. Some of them have been my favorites since I've started listening to the band, and I've been listening to Rush since I was a kid. So, it's one of my favorite bands. They're great. Geddy Lee, incredible bassist. Some people might say, stuff about his voice, but I think his voice is fine. It sounds fine. It's its own style. It sounds different. You get so many people now that sound the fucking same. It's just, compared to that, Geddy's voice, I like it. I know it's an acquired taste. Whatever. Alex Lifeson, incredible guitarist. Guitar solos, incredible. He has his own style, and he just mixes a lot of different techniques and genres and styles too. I mean, he has his own thing he goes to, and whenever you're watching Rush play, you get to see especially live videos, you get to see what he uses, what kind of pedals and stuff and amps he uses, and he does go over that in different videos of his where he goes over his equipment and what kind of preamps he uses, what kind of guitars, what kind of equipment he uses, on stage and on tour. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. If you have not checked out one of those, if you're a guitar nut or if you're just a fan of music, I would strongly go check out one of those videos of his. Just him showing off his equipment. It's really cool. It's really awesome. And of course, Neil Peart, incredible drummer. I mean, goddamn. There's nothing else to say about it. He's just an incredible drummer. Holy hell, man. Like Alex and Geddy, he has his own style, and he does blend different genres and different styles, and you can see different influences in each of them. From Alex, he has his own type of jazz style. From Geddy, you have a lot of proggy stuff. I know he listened to a lot of Yes growing up, so that he obviously has a lot of inspiration from classic prog bands of the day, like Yes. What was I gonna say? I forget what I was gonna say. Anyway, though, like the early prog bands, really of the late '60s and early '70s. He got into when he was playing with as Rush, writing the songs in the very early days of Rush. He was into those proggy bands of the mid to late '60s and into the early '70s. And of course Neil Peart, he loved John Bonham and all those drummers from back in the day. But he also wanted to create his own style through different having that a lot of drums to work off of and to infuse styles and all that stuff. You could see that in kind of an orchestral way in his early days with Rush, and then onto his middle period with Rush, where he kind of infused a different synth style into his drumming. He started using MIDI instruments and started using all different types of pads and stuff on drums, and using all different type of electronic drums as well. And then you can see that going back into later Rush, you could see him kind of go back into kind of a hard rock style, a simplistic style, if you will, compared to his 80s and into the early 90s work with Rush. So, they all have different influences, and obviously, I could go into them each and there are different inspirations and all that stuff. But no, today we are going to take these Rush albums and we're going to put them into a tier list based on what I think is one of my favorites of the Rush style. And right now we're doing both studio albums and live albums. So this includes both studio and live albums. And I do have my trusty Googler here, my fact checker, Mr. Phone, Mr. Jerry Garcia right now. He's just chilling here, and where he's gonna be Googling what is in each of the different albums. And I could probably work off without Google, but just to be sure, sometimes I get songs mixed up and albums mixed up, especially in the 80s. The 80s Rush albums, I really like. I love synth period Rush. Okay, I love all period Rush. It's fine. It's Rush. I mean, I like it. But I never really got into the early 90s albums. I did get into Signals, Grace Under Pressure, and Power Windows. I really got into. That was actually one of my favorites from that period, Power Windows. But just to be sure, we're gonna be Googling these. The live albums, though, I've listened to most of these live albums. There's only one on here actually I've never listened to, and I'm kind of want to listen to it now. It's actually this one. It's the All the World's a Stage album, which I think I did. Actually, let me actually because I think I should have listened to this at some point. Yeah, it's a live album. Yeah, 76. Okay, it's an older live. Okay, it's from 76. It's an older live album. That's probably why I've never listened to it, because it's an older live album. I've never really gotten to the older live albums. I did listen to A Show of Hands, but that was from the 80s, not that old. But let's just maybe this was it was a shorter album too, but it does have a lot of their older stuff on it, from the Fly By Night and from Working Man's self-titled time, whatever. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's start off with the first one here. This is the Clockwork Angels live tour album. There we go. Okay. So we got this one. This is actually the first live album I listened to. Come on. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, so this one, yeah, I really do like it. It was the first live album I listened to of Rush. Clockwork Angels tour. That tour was so good. And the album too. Clockwork Angels as a studio album, really good stuff. But right now we're talking about the live album. I really liked it. I think it's middle of the ground. Though I will say, the live version of Dreamline in that album is probably my favorite version of Dreamline, because it's just, I don't know what it is. I think it's the strings. They did have backing strings during this tour, and man, oh man, that just adds so much to a lot of their classic, more older songs, that didn't have strings on them, or had kind of like a synthetic string sound to them. Man, having those live real strings onto them just really, really gave them some bump. So I will, just because of that, I'll put it up in the B tier. I'll put it in middle of the ground. B tier. Moving Pictures. Man, this is one of their, most popular albums. And, just to check. Let's consult the Spotify here. Let's consult Mr. Spotify. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Hey, okay. All right. For those who do not know this album, Tom Sawyer, Red Bar Shadow, YYZ, Limelight, Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, Vital Sign. Goddamn, incredible album. Multiple singles, multiple incredible songs. In fact, the entire album, just mucho bugumbo, zambadubu. Okay, and that's why I'm gonna put this in S tier, because, seriously, come on. This was the album that really got him into the pop music eye, 2112 was very experimental too, but that kind of saved them from totally just not being a thing anymore. as Power Windows, I mean not Power Windows, Moving Pictures, it kind of just created them more in a pop image, but still having those, prog influences, involved as well. So that's what I'm putting in S tier. It's a very, very notable album of theirs. Here we got R40 Live. R40 Live was their last tour, I believe. And R40 Live, very interesting live album, because what they do in this live album is they do multiple songs from all their albums. Okay, they do a couple songs from each of their albums, which if you know Rush, it's a lot of albums, and that could easily fill 2 live shows from a normal band. But what they do is, this late in their career, to do that, as a last tour, that is just nuts. That they can just pull out these songs out of nowhere. And these aren't easy songs, man. These are all, especially their older work, their older songs are very experimental, and to pull them out like they did on this live album is incredible. Which is why just because of that fact, I will put this in A. I'm gonna put the R40 Live, because the fact that they can do this as musicians, just pull songs out of their catalog, just to do like a overview of their entire careers. It's just incredible. It's incredible, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. But this was actually from the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, and this was back in June of 2015. And so they do have songs spanning from the Clockwork Angels album going down. They go backwards in their career to the oldest songs from their self-titled album, so I think that's just really cool. So like they have Working Man, Lakeside Park, got 2112, like not the full 2112, just the short version of it. They do also have, Jacob's Ladder, Natural Science. Of course, they got YYZ, Spirit of the Radio, Losing It. One of my favorite versions of Losing It is actually on this live album. Very, very cool. How It Is, one of my favorites from the Vapor Trails album. Yeah, they just have every little bits of each of their albums on there, which I really think is really cool. 2112, you know where it's going. It's going to S tier. You don't need to say anything about that. This is this album that single-handedly saved their entire career as a band. Before this, they were gonna pack on up and go back to what they were doing before they started taking music seriously, because they wanted to make more experimental music, and the record company was like, no, shorter songs, more singles. And their manager was like, I'm sure that's what they're gonna do on the next album, and the record company was like, if they don't do it, they're not. And so what they did is they made a 20-minute song, split up into parts, which was one side of the record, and that became 2112, and it was popular. It was a success, and man, oh man, these guys had balls. So just because that is going up top tier, S tier, bada bing boom. Now we're getting into Farewell to Kings. Farewell to Kings, a very great album, one of my favorites from them. This song, this is I feel like a little bit underrated of an album. I know a lot of bands have played this album through. I think Primus just did a few years ago. Farewell to Kings, Xanadu, Closer to the Heart, Cinderella Man, Madrigal, and Cygnus X1 Book 1. And the next album continues that on. So here, this came after 2112, and you still see you still see early Rush. You still see that prog influence, especially on songs like Xanadu and Cygnus, and a little bit on Farewell to Kings. We have that opening part with the classical guitar, Alex playing that classical guitar. And you see a little bit too on Cinderella Man as well. So, Closer to the Heart is probably the most single sounding song on this record. Xanadu, one of my all-time favorites, if not all-time favorite Rush songs. Incredible song. Closer to the Heart, great single for the album. Cygnus X1, great prog song if you love proggy stuff. Both Xanadu and Cygnus X1 Book 1 and Book 2 have great prog influences here, and this album is a great album, and many bands have covered it from front to back. So I'm gonna put it just below. I think just below S tier. And I might switch this up afterwards. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Depends on where everything fits into it. But right now, we are Farewell to Kings will go into a show of hands. I actually just listened to this a few months ago for the first time. Very cool. For me personally, it's still a great album. It's still Rush. All these albums are great. Okay, I'm not gonna say any of these albums are trash. Just because I like how they did not include the F tier list, because no Rush album is F tier. No Rush song is F tier. Okay, it's Rush. Okay, it's all, some of it you may not be into, and that's fine, but none of it's bad per se. Anyway, Show of Hands, not their best live album, I feel like, but it still a good album. I will put Show of Hands in the D tier just because and also this came about when they were getting into that synthy period of their career, and a lot of people didn't like that, so put that into D tier. Still a great live album, great time. All the World's a Stage. A lot of their classical stuff is on this. I believe this was their first live album. I'm going to put it into C tier. If you're really interested, if you really love blues rock from the 70s, and if you love that early Rush sound, but in a live format, I think All the World's a Stage is a great live album. Just go check it out. A lot of their songs from their first two albums are done live on the album, so very good. Next up, Caress of Steel, their third album, sorry. God damn, dude. Caress of Steel. Oh, Caress of Steel. This was the album that almost put their career in the morgue here. I'm not really taking a look closely at this cover art. It just does not. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with this one, but what I will say about Caress of Steel, here's a song list, by the way. Bastille Day, I Think I'm Going Bald, Lakeside Park, Necromancer, Fountain of Lamneth. Lakeside Park's a great little song. I really do like Lakeside Park, especially what Neil Peart does on the drum fill, especially going into the song. I think that's a really cool little thing there. The last two songs are the most controversial, I feel like. Necromancer and The Fountain of Lamneth are two long-ass songs that just kind of meander and it's pretty... personally, The Fountain of Lamneth, I think, is... it's not as good as 2112, obviously, but I think it did seed what 2112 was gonna be. Without The Fountain of Lamneth as a song, you wouldn't have 2112. I think that that can be debated, but I think it's true. Necromancer is kind of I really never liked it as a song. Think I'm Going Bald, Bastille Day, I like Bastille Day. Bastille Day is a great opener to the album. I think there's a lot of cool guitar solos in Lamneth as well. If you have never listened to this Rush album, I suggest going through it. It's not that long of an album compared to their later work, but it does clock in at 44 minutes for 5 songs. So if you love long songs, I think this is the one for you. But Lamneth does have a lot of interesting guitar parts, I think, and a lot of interesting solos. There's also a lot of interesting drum effects put onto Lamneth, and a lot of just weird stuff as well. There's a lot of just weird things going on with this album that really caused them to kind of dip in the popular perception during that time. And that, but I think without this album, we wouldn't have 2112, There's no way, because this is kind of like the bridge to 2112 from Fly By Night, from that, shorter Yeah, you did have different lyrical elements going on with Fly By Night, that being that it was Neil's first album he was, on, studio album. But without Caress of Steel, I don't think you would have 2112. Because of that, I'm gonna put it up in C tier. I do like Lamneth though. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, and when people say, "Oh, what the fuck is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's Rush, man. This is what Rush was back in the day. They were prog, man. They were prog. And this is what made them popular, with 2112. This was the seed. This is the seed that was planted for 2112. I think Caress of Steel. Onto the Clockwork Angels studio album. I did mention this one earlier. I do think this is really cool. But gonna bring it back up here. I'm gonna bring it back up here. There we go. All right, so we do have Caravan, BU2B, Clockwork Angels, Anarchist, Carnies, Halo Effect, Seven Cities of Gold. This is a long album, by the way. The Wreckers, Headlong Flight, BU2B2, Wish 'Em Well, and The Garden. Well, I will have to say The Garden is probably one of my favorite ends to a Rush studio album. Beautiful song. If you have not heard them do it live on the Clockwork Angels live album, that's also very good. Mucho gusto right there. Also another one, Headlong Flight, is also one of my other favorites from this album. And I'd say Clockwork Angels also, the title song is a really good song as well. So other than that, the other songs are fine. Again, they're kind of going back to their rock roots with this album. They are older. This one came out back in 2012. So yes, they are older in this one, but they still can rock it, man. They go back to their hard rock roots with this one, I feel like. And it's a great way to end off their career for studio albums. And as I said before, The Garden, great song to end on. Great song to end on. I really do love that song. It's great little soft song. If you like acoustic stuff from hard rock bands, maybe that's a good. The Garden's a great song. If you like crazy ass song, Headlong Flight is a great crazy song on this album. So, in terms of rating it here, I will have to put it in C. I think I don't really seek out this album. Sometimes when I first listened to Rush, this song had just came out, or this album had just came out. So this was the first album I listened to, and it got me into Rush. So it did its job. And then I listened to the live album, and that was fine. So yeah, I think it's a fine album. There's a few songs in there I like. Again, Headlong Flight, Garden, title track, great songs, great highlights for the album, for me personally. Anyway. All right, so now we're up to Counterparts. This one came out back in 93. It clocks in at 54 minutes, 11 songs. And let's see, Animate, Stick It Out, Cut to the Chase, Nobody's Hero, Between Sun and Moon, Alien Shore, Speed of Love, Double Agent, Leave That Thing Alone, Cold Fire, Everyday Glory. There's a few songs like Clockwork Angels. There's a few songs I really, really like on this album. And there's a lot of songs that I'm just like, I'd skip, Though they're live versions of Leave That Thing Alone, very good instrumental song. Very good instrumental song. So I will say that. Also, their live versions of Between Sun and Moon, very good, I think, in my opinion. I think the live version is better than the studio version in both those cases, for both Between Sun and Moon and Leave That Thing Alone. Animate, great song. I think Animate's an amazing song. I believe that was a single, as was Stick It Out. And I think Nobody's Hero is a very nice song when they do it live. Other than that, there isn't really too much to say about Counterparts. Animate's probably going to be my favorite song from this album here. So I'm going to put it along with Clockwork Angels in the C tier. going over to Different Stages, I just listened to this live album for the first time last week, and man, honestly, I'm gonna have to put it in the B tier. I think it's great. I think it's a great live album. Just because the way it's, I don't know. I don't know. It came out in '98, so, but it was before they took that break, and I think it's just a great. There's just so many great songs on this. There's just so many great songs, you know. They do have Animate as well. They do the entirety of 2112, incredible. And it's just an amazing. Of course, they do Leave That Thing Alone. And they do a lot of classics like By Tour and Xanadu and Something for Nothing. They do a lot of classics too. So that's a really good live album. I feel like surprisingly good, actually. I didn't think it would be that, because their 90s live albums for me personally was kind of you know, not as good as I think the 80s ones were, or the later ones like the Rio live album, which we will get to later on here. I think is one of my favorites from them. Live album wise, I would put that up against R40 any day. So I'm gonna put Different Stages at the B tier, right in the middle here. What's the next one? Exit Stage Left, right? Exit Stage Left. This came out back in the early 80s. This was live in the UK and in Canada. And it's pretty nice. It's a nice little album that you listen to. This is one of the more notable live albums they have. I'm gonna put it in middle of the ground as well. They do La Villa Stringato, so live. So I think that's pretty cool. They also do a lot of the hits that were just coming out then. You know, they got Red Barchetta, YYZ, Closer to the Heart. They also do a lot of good amount of classics ones as well. The Trees, Xanadu, Beneath, Between, and Behind as well. So a lot of classics and a lot of, well, what we consider classics now. I mean, all these would be classics now because it came out back in the 80s. But great lineup back in 1980. The covers album they did a lot of. They did a few covers here actually. Let me get back here. Feedback, that's what it was called. It came out back in 2004, and it clocks in at 27 minutes, 8 songs. Just a little tiny album compared to the other ones with some of the classics, some of the covers they wanted to do. And I don't know. It's kind of like it's just a thing they released. I don't know. Summertime Blues. They got The Seeker in here. They got Crossroads. Yeah, just a bunch of blues covers, really. That's all it is. I'm putting it in D tier. Fly By Night. I really love Fly By Night as a song as well, but the album's really good. Fly By Night. And we got Anthem, Best I Can, Beneath, Between, and Behind, By Tour, Fly By Night, Making Memories, Rivendell, and In the End. I really do like Rivendell. Rivendell is a really, calm, serene song, I think. Yeah, it's the really calm song. I really like Rivendell. But also, By Tour is nice. The live album versions of it are very nice as well. Anthem's pretty cool, and Fly By Night, even though it was popular, that's my favorite song from the album, Fly By Night. So I'm going to put it right in the middle. This was also the first album that Neil Peart was on, so very cool. Very cool. A lot of people like it. Would probably put into A or S tier. For me personally, I'm kind of I haven't if I'm gonna listen to an entire Rush album, it would not be Fly By Night. There are a few good songs in here that I like though. Like Fly By Night, Rivendell, Anthem. Probably my top 3 on the album. Anyway, moving on to Grace Under Pressure. We got 2 Grace Under Pressures here, I think. What is this? Why do we got 2? What? We got 2 Grace Under Pressures here. Came out in 84. Distant Early Warning, After Image, Red Sector A, The Enemy Within, The Body Electric, Kid Gloves, Red Lenses, Between the Wheels, man. The live version of that on, I believe that's R40. Woo-wee. I would check that out. Between the Wheels live, R40. Great. Some of my favorites probably would be Red Sector A, Distant Early Warning, and The Body Electric is pretty cool. Again, the live version of that is pretty cool. I probably way that better than the studio version, but it's great. The album starts great though. I think The Enemy Within is a great song. Red Sector A, After Image, Distant Early Warning. I think those 4 songs would be great. Well, actually 5 songs. Body Electric is the first 5 as well. So great start to the album. The end of the album is kind of in my opinion. Between the Wheels, again, great song live. Studio version's kind of So to me personally, so don't get mad. Okay, these are just my opinions. My opinions suck sometimes. Whatever. Grace Under Pressure though, I don't know why there's 2 of them. Does anybody know why there's 2 of them? Oh, one's the tour one. Wait, what? There's a tour. There's a tour. There's a tour? What? Oh, there it is. There's the tour. Oh. A tour one came out in 2006. And, they just do songs from the album. It's fun. I'd probably weigh the live version actually better because the live versions of these songs are better. So I'd say Grace Under Pressure, I'd say C, and then B for the, or actually no, I'd say I'll put Grace Under Pressure in D and then the tour in C. So I don't want to put I don't want to put all of them up in A tier. Cause whatever. Anyway, man. We're on to Hemispheres. Let me bring it up. Okay, back in 78, we got Book 2 of the Cygnus. We got Circumstances, The Trees, and La Villa. It's a short-ass album, 36 minutes, 4 songs. Cygnus probably takes up half of that, I'm pretty sure. The Trees is a very nice song. They do it live a lot too. And of course La Villa. I don't know what my room smells like. It smells like lettuce almost. Oh. All right. Well, La Villa is an incredible song. So just based on that and The Trees, Cygnus Book 2, I don't know. I put Book 1 probably over Book 2, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I know they make an album. They had an EP out where it's just those 2 songs back to back, which is really cool, I think. But I would probably put this in B tier. Very, very, very difficult songs. Very difficult songs. Actually, no, I'll put it in A tier. La Villa is just so fucking difficult. It's really funny. And when they do it live too, it's crazy. It's just nuts. Hold Your Fire. Hold Your Fire is up next. Going to 87. This was an album that I really liked personally from their 80s albums. I really like this. Power Windows I think is a little better than Hold Your Fire. I think Hold Your Fire though does have its hits, in my opinion. Force 10 and Time Stand Still are the big ones people know. I think Lock and Key is a very good song. Turn the Page, a very good song as well. But I think that's it in terms of songs that I personally like from the album. Mission's kind of Tyshawn's pretty High Water's kind of Time Stands Still though, very good. Amy Mann, coming at you. I'd probably put this in C. Hold Your Fire. Rush in Rio. I'm putting that in A. God damn, dude. Whoo-wee. This and R40 are probably my two favorites. Two favorite live albums. R40 is good because it's them playing like all their songs just incredibly. But Rush in Rio, this was the first live album after their break, and they just killed it. And the audience is just so good in this. This is like one of those live albums where it's like the audience plays as much of a factor as the band does, and I think that's really cool. And they just bring each song more to life than they were in prior live albums. So Rush in Rio is just so good. Rush in Rio, God, it's so good. If you haven't not listened to this live album, I suggest doing so. Very good live album. Very great. Very great time. Anyway, I put that in A tier. If I were to put a live album though in S tier, it might be that one. So I might ring a ding ding that. It's been 30 minutes though, so I better hurry this up. We got Permanent Waves. Back in 1980, this was right before Moving Windows. Moving Windows. Yeah, this was the album before Moving Pictures. Permanent Waves was kind of the catalyst, I believe, to Moving Pictures. Without Permanent Waves, you wouldn't have Moving Pictures. So, Spirit of the Radio, Free Will, Jacob's Ladder, Entree New, Different Strings, Natural Science. This would be an album I would listen to front to back, you know. This along with probably Power Windows, honestly, too, I would listen to front to back. Permanent Waves, just so good. Entree New, one of my favorite songs. Spirit of the Radio, Free Will, of course, two popular ones. Jacob's Ladder, always great song live. Of course, Natural Science and Different Strings, just great songs all the way through. So I'm going to put this in the S tier. I love Permanent Waves, so I'm going to do it. Make that leap. Going up there. And next we got, of course, Power Windows. So let's bring that up. This one came out in 85. The Big Money, Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, Marathon, Territories, Middletown Dreams, Emotion Detector, Mystic Rhythms. The only two songs I would not listen to, I would press the skip button if I were just listening to those through live. Or just listen to this through. I don't know why I put live in there. Probably Emotion Detector and Marathon. I know they did that live a lot in the 80s. Marathon was kind of their go-to song from the album. But goddamn, dude, Grand Designs, great song. Manhattan Project, one of my favorites from them. Big Money, that one that's always a showstopper. Middletown Dreams, great song as well. Mystic Rhythms, that was the big single I think from this album. Territories, of course, and lyrically, this album is just very, very, very good. You know, lyrically. And if you don't like the synth stuff, I suggest listening to the lyrics more so, because I think lyrically, this is one of Rush's probably better albums. I think it's just the lyrics are so prominent to me on this one. So I'm going to do the Insane and put in Power Windows up at S tier, because this is one of the few Rush albums I can listen to front to back and be like, man, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to listen to it front to back again. Because, goddamn, from Big Money all the way down to Mystic Rhythms, just, you know, two great songs to, you know, bookend each album's just incredible. Marathon still is a good song. Emotion Detector, still great songs. They did them live so many times, and they did all of these live, I believe. They did a lot of these, even like on their newer live albums. They still do a lot of these. So, you know, they did Big Money, Grand Designs a lot, Territories, Middletown Dreams they sometimes do. So, yeah, I'm putting that in S tier. My favorite synth period Rush album, Power Windows. Presto. We're getting into the 90s, I think now, right? Yeah. Or no, just barely. In 1989, we got Presto. Show Don't Tell, Chain Lightning, The Pass, Warpaint, Scars, Presto, Superconductor, Anagram, Red Tide, Hand Over Fist, Available Light. My favorites, Show Don't Tell. The Pass is another one of my favorites here. Presto's pretty cool. Other than that, I'm kind of about everything else. The Pass is a really emotional song, though. And Show Don't Tell is a very nice Neil Peart song. Especially that beginning. Woo! Woo-wee! If you have not listened to Show Don't Tell, ooh, that beginning will get you. I'll put it in the C tier. Roll the Bones. Now we're in the 90s. 91. We got Dreamline, Bravado, Roll the Bones, Face Up, Where's My Thing, Big Wheel, Hearsay, Ghost of a Chance, Neurotica, and You Bet Your Life. So, I have listened to this through this album multiple times. This is, this is as synth rush as it gets, I feel like. Dreamline is a very nice song. Chord-wise, there's not too much going on with this album compared to their other albums. Dreamline, Bravado, Roll the Bones, I like. It's my other guilty pleasure. Roll the Bones. A lot of people, a lot of people. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yeah, Roll the Bones. A lot of people don't like it. I think it's fine. Face Up, Where's My Thing? Face Up's a pretty interesting song. I feel like the drums though on this album and Presto were kind of they sound a little bit thin, and I think that was a conscious decision by them. Not really my favorite drum. Thin drums are fine, but in a rock band though, it's kind of save that kind of for the jazz setting. But the drum parts are still fire. And Dreamline, Bravado, Roll the Bones, Face Up, Where's My Thing, great instrumental. Ghost of a Chance, another great song. Underrated song, I believe. A lot of cool guitar work though. A lot of reverb on both this one and Presto. So I'm gonna put Roll the Bones. I'm gonna put Fly By Night up here, and I'm gonna put Roll the Bones in B, just so I don't piss everybody off. Now we are on to the first 1974. Finding My Way, Need Some Love, Take a Friend, Here Again, What You're Doing, In the Mood, Before and After, Working Man. Alright, everybody knows Working Man. Finding My Way is a good little tune. In the Mood. A lot of people don't like that song either. I do. I apparently like everything everybody hates. It's pretty cool. What You're Doing is fine too. A lot of just blues rock, John Rutsey. He's great. I think he's a great drummer. I think he's a great drummer. But he, nothing too crazy though. Not like what would come later. So, very solid drummer as well. I will put this in the I'll put it in the C section. And now we're on the Signals. This was the kind of the start of their synth period albums. 1982. Subdivisions: The Analog Kid, Chemistry, Digital Man, The Weapon, New World Man, Losing It, Countdown, Losing It, very good song. Analog Kid, I love it. Subdivisions, that's the one everybody knows. New World Man's a fine song too. I like it when they do it live. So I'll put this one in. I'll put this one in the C too. Again, there's nothing really here. I feel like each of these songs they do better live. I feel like on their live albums. So, but this was the beginning of their synth period stuff. So, yeah. This is Snakes and Arrows live. I've not listened to this one in a while. But We do a lot of ones, of course, from Snakes and Arrows. Snakes and Arrows, I don't know. Snakes and Arrows just didn't do it for me. Just didn't do it for me, really. And then, of course, they still have the hits on here. But it wasn't really that, I feel like. Yeah. Snakes and Arrows didn't really do it for me. Far Cry was probably the biggest one for me on this one. The Main Monkey Business was an interesting instrumental, definitely. Other than that, there's 2 instrumentals on here. And this clocks in at an hour and 62 minutes, man. For 13 songs. It's kind of you know. But Working Them Angels is a pretty good song as well, I feel like, from this album. But Far Cry and Working Them Angels, and maybe Main Monkey Business if you want to, if you like instrumentals. Other than that, Snakes and Arrows really didn't do it for me that much, so I'm gonna put both of them on there. We got Vapor Trails. Whew, I love Vapor Trails, man. I love Vapor Trails. This was also when they just came back from their break. One Little Victory. Ceiling Unlimited, Ghost Rider, Peaceable Kingdom, The Stars Look Down, How It Is, Vapor Trail, Secret Touch, Earth Shine, Sweet Miracle, Nocturne, Freeze Part 4, and Out of the Cradle. I feel like there was just so much emotional, just emotion written into this album, more so than I think any other album, because of the prior things that happened to create this album. A lot of emotional distress, and also a lot of just finding yourself and putting into music form, which Neil just did an incredible job at lyrically. And so I feel like this is the album you listen to whenever you're feeling down about whatever is happening in your life. I think Vapor Trails is a very, very good album to listen to, front to back even, I'd say. There's just a lot of great songs in this one. Ghost Rider, of course. And if you have not read Neil Peart's book, Ghost Rider, also very good read. Just finished that one about a year ago. Very, very good read. How It Is a very good song. One of my favorite from the album is How It Is. Vapor Trail, Secret Touch. One Little Victory, too. Good songs. So, even the minor songs on this album are just, they're just lyrically very, very good. And I'm going to put this in the A. I think this is a great album. Incredible album. I think the lyrical integrity of this album is almost as good as Power Windows to me. Just because there's just so much emotion into it. And as Power Windows was kind of in a general sense of societal kind of themes within the lyrics of the album, where Vapor Trails kind of is a more of personal, emotional kind of journey. So to me, if you're looking for if you're in a rough patch personally, I'd say Vapor Trails is a great album to go to. If you want great lyrics, but you're kind of fucked up about society or societal norms or just stuff about that, Power Windows, I think, is a good album. But also, too, if you want that hard rock edge, Vapor Trails. If you want that synthy type rock, I'd say Rush. Not Rush. I'd say Power Windows. I think both these albums are good for the same or different reasons, but in the same context, lyrically, they're both very, very good albums. So, it's only the fact that Power Windows, for me personally, has better songs on it than Vapor Trails as a whole. To me, that kind of ranks them between tiers. That's kind of what it is for me personally. But still, this is Vapor Trails, great album, great album. And Russian Rio, also a great album. If you like Vapor Trails, listen to Russian Rio, because they do a lot of those songs live, same time period. Incredible crowd. Anyway, on to the last one. Or that was the last. No, that was not. Yes, we finished the one. Cleveland, 2011, Time Machine. I'm gonna bring it up just to time machine. 2011, man, live in Cleveland, Ohio. Yes, great. This is kind of in the same vein as Rush and Rio, where the audience is just great too. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's a great album still. Not as good as Rush and Rio though, but great. Just a great selection of songs in this one. A lot of B-sides on this one as well. And they kind of just do it from different albums. There isn't really one specific album. It was in 2011, so Clockwork Angels was about to come out, but it wasn't out yet. So they do a lot of classical songs and some songs from Snakes and Arrows as well. They do Working Them Angels. They also do B2B. That one came out on Clockwork Angels, so that was kind of like a sneak peek. Faithless. Yeah. And they do most of Moving Pictures as well. They have Limelight, The Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, Vital Signs. Yeah, they do a lot of great songs, and of course they do La Vila. Great. And they finish with Working Man as well. A little fun fact about Cleveland too. That was kind of like where Rush was first played on the radio. So of course that brings it into the audience more, and that's kind of where Rush started to become a force of a band outside of Canada. So Cleveland, Ohio, just across Lake Erie there. So yeah, I'll put that in B. It's still a great live album, along with Clockwork Angels live and R40 and Rio. Those are kind of the four big ones for me in terms of live work they've done. But let me look at this once again just to see what we got here. So S tier, Moving Pictures, 2112, Permanent Waves, Power Windows. I'm not going to dispute that. A tier, R40 Live, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, Russian Rio, Vapor Trails, Fly By Night. Okay. B tier, we got Clockwork Angels Live. B tier, we got Clockwork Angels Live, different stages, exit stage left. You want to say stage right? Roll the Bones, live in Cleveland. Okay, that's fine. All the World's a Stage for C tier, Caress of Steel, all the World's a Stage live, Clockwork Angels, self-titled, Signals, Grace Under Pressure, studio album, Presto, Counterparts, Hold Your Fire. I think it's fine. You know what? I'll put their original in B tier. I'll put their original in B tier just because it's their first album, and that's kind of a thing, you know. And D tier, Snakes and Arrows live, Show of Hands, Feedback, and Grace Under Pressure live. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that's fine. I think it's cool. I'm gonna save this bullshit, and that'll be it. Well done, Davey. You've done it. You've done it. What is this? Tier Maker, download image. Yes, sir. I will download this image. Yeah, I think it's fine. But yeah, leave in the comments if you dispute any of these. I know I'm gonna get a few. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening to this episode of the Squires Podcast, Squires Station's podcast, Squire Station. And remember, you can subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, and other streaming platforms. And remember, always use your butt, please.